Your Honor, these are my motions that I have put on.
Okay.
I am not attempting to harass the court or whatever. I wish to, why I am bringing up motion 1 and 2 is because I myself come from a small town. I understand the close association and so on. Your Honor, there is an issue in this case that I think is going to be a very explosive, a very intimate and personal issue, and that is the issue of Scientology. I know Mr. Halliburton says that is a religion. Even if it is a religion, it's still an issue that can be brought in a custody situation. I contend it is not a religion, that it is a dangerous cult. I am going to do a pretrial memorandum. There is tons of case law, not only in the United States, but also in Great Britain, Australia. It is a very, very dangerous and with potential harm to the minor children. And I think it has to be brought in because custody is a primary issue in this case. What I'm asking in these motions is, as I said, I come from a very small town.
Which town is that?
London, Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
I'm from Lexington, but I lived in London all my life, and I understand, and I just know that with the objectivity and so on, that it might be a very serious problem. I understand Commissioner Hinton knows the Vinoys. He's made statements he doesn't know the Padgetts. I understand he doesn't know the Padgetts. I don't think that's the issue.
I would agree, but go ahead.
But I'm very concerned about this, that it would be a problem of objectivity, and that at some point there's going to have to be some major decisions. And if you feel comfortable and so on, I wanted a ruling basically made from the bench to that decision. That was my first motion, my first two motions.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and address number
Okay.
2, and then I'll come back and we'll
Okay.
take those both at the same time.
Okay. Also on Dr. Nichols, she has completed her evaluation.
Well, I was thinking the part that referred to me.
Oh, okay. Well, basically...
And I don't take any of this.
Right, and I was basically addressing the same issues. I do know the membership, I think, in the country club. I know it's a small country club, a small town membership.
Well, the problem with that statement is I'm not a member of the country club.
Okay.
I rarely go out there. I may go out there this week for a roast of the mayor, the retiring mayor, but and I do know the Vinoys. I don't know I don't really see the Vinoys that often. I don't see them socially. The Mrs. Padgett's sister used to work with the district court in what was a volunteers and probation program that lasted, I would say, 81 or 82 to 80. Well, it's probably more 83 to 85 or 86. I don't know. I can't remember and that's right. Ellen Sloop. I would actually know her more than I would know Laura's parents. But it's been 6 or 7 years since there was that, and the relationship, and I don't see Ellen Sloop. I mean, from time to time I might see her, but I don't see her on any regular basis, not in any organizations together.
Well, basically, Your Honor, what I was doing with both of those is, and particularly, I guess, with you, what I was asking you is if you do feel comfortable, then that's fine. I just know this is going to be, and I think Mr. Halliburton, I'm sure he won't agree with that, but it is going to be a very hard and difficult case to hear.
Well, I can appreciate that. But I feel comfortable. I guess any tough case, I just soon not have to decide it, and I just soon get out of it, this one included. But I don't see the basis for that. As for Mr. Hinton, which that's come up before, if you had any evidence of that he had made statements?
I don't have any evidence of that nature or anything. And basically most of 90% of the case has always been in front of you. There's only been 2 hearings that I know of, the pendant light hearing, and then there was a hearing on February 15th. And then, so basically what I'm trying to do is get this, I want to set a final hearing. I think we're ready to do that, and I want to go ahead after the first of the year and do that.
Well,
so I wanted to do whatever issues. I wanted to resolve this before I could resolve that issue of a final hearing.
Well, you don't have any objection to?
I've already before I received this,
well, I didn't.
I have dictated a motion for Mr. Hinton to set a final evidentiary hearing.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, well, for now, I will overrule the...
So you're basically saying if I found out any information, direct information as to Commissioner Hinton?
Yes, I mean, that would certainly be, the court would consider that. I mean, if Mr. Hinton's been making statements.
No, I can't say that he has. I just think it's going to put him in probably a very uncomfortable position, and I was trying to keep from, I wanted as much
up the Scientology issue.
Well, with it being that, with the Scientology issue being brought in, and it being a hometown girl with, you know, her father's office was there for numerous years. They've worked side by side in that office, and I know myself personally, and an attorney being in the other office, that it's...
That raises the question that I know you can appreciate, that being a judge in a small town is not always the most enjoyable activity when you see people come before the court in various ways, and that those are times, I suppose, when you might rather be a judge in Louisville or Lexington. But if I started recusing myself in every case in which I had some knowledge of the people on either side, then I'd probably end up not hearing too many cases. But I mean, that is a dilemma, and I appreciate it.
Well, I wanted to raise these issues, and I was particularly concerned about...
She's just misstated, like yours with the country club, Mr. Hinton working, take it to mean, down the hall with Carl Vinoy. Carl Vinoy had already sold out of Wilson McPherson before Hank Hinton even went there, and they were never in the same, Wilson McPherson and Hank Hinton's offices were never in the same building. It's just the conflict is imaginary to the other side.
Mr., as I understand, he is still a partner. He was a partner of Mr. Vinoy's.
I believe it's still imaginary to the other side.
That Mr. Hinton is a partner of Mr.
No, Mr. Vinoy
is a partner of
Mr.
Wilson McPherson.
Yes.
And Wilson McPherson is a Kentucky corporation, and he is not. He sold out long ago. But that's here and there. It still is a conflict. They weren't in the
I don't know about that, but
they're close. You know, they're on the same side of Main Street, and that's it.
Did Mr. Hinton buy the building from Mr. Vinoy?
No, he bought a building down from, I'm not sure if it's Stennett or the realtor on.
Oh, the one down, that he bought that building from Stennett, but the one where he was before, I didn't know.
He had not purchased. It was a rental situation.
I understand that. It was a lease type situation. I understand that.
Okay.
But I thought there was still a possibility of a problem with this case. My third issue is the custodial evaluation is in, and I would like for Dr. Nichols to extend her evaluation only to contact psychologists or psychiatrists who have worked with people or been involved in custodial evaluations that deal with the actual issue of Scientology.
Okay.
That was my third one. Basically, also, I had asked that the petitioner comply, and I specifically set out 3 questions that have not been answered. They were stated that these were totally for harassment purposes. That is not the reason why.
Are those questions related to?
They are related to Scientology. They are not for harassment purposes. In the deposition that we did take, Mrs. Padgett has volunteered that she has been to Nashville to numerous, to 5 or 6, I think, times. She said that the children had been there at the time of the deposition. We're actually, I only asked
where
at Nashville to the Scientology Center 5 or 6 times she and the children had been there. We were asking for dates of meetings and any kind of seminars or anything that she's been, and I think this is information, with this being an issue, that we should be able to obtain. I think specifically expenditures that she has spent for monies such as seminars or other things. We have a very substantial amount of past expenditures. We would like to know what the current expenditures are. We are not raising these questions for harassment. We're trying to find out information on this issue.
Okay. Albert,
It is for harassment, Your Honor. Just that simple. This is a ruse that has been brought belatedly even into this divorce case. I want to show you in support of this is a quote statement Mr. Padgett sent to a person in Lexington by the name of John Barnhart. Here's the actual envelope in which it was mailed, apparently on November 2nd of this year, in which Mr. Padgett very pointedly slanders this court, myself, and makes his position in this whole thing quite well known. And it does. That absolutely, to me, shows that Mr. Padgett is willing to go and stoop to any level in order to, I don't know, to get revenge against the court, revenge as he sees it against anybody associated with this case. It's obviously contemptuous to this court when it accuses you, Mr. Hinton, myself, as being in concert, and just openly says it. I believe that, again, speaks volumes to the whole reason we are here today is nothing more than a last-ditch effort to muddy an unpleasant situation. Scientology is a ruse at best in this. For you to declare Scientology a cult or anything, you would go against tax courts. There's a very recent decision that proves it as a religion. But my point is, it is just not in this divorce case, even though Mr. Padgett has attempted belatedly to bring it into the divorce case.
Did you say you have a memorandum?
Yes, I do, Your Honor, that I will be preparing, and I would like to speak directly to the issue that he just brought up. In the custodial evaluation, it was talked about extensively through the custodial evaluation, her involvement in Scientology, and throughout the years of the marriage. It's not something that's just come up. I have United States Supreme Court cases that talks about Scientology. He is talking about, very recently, there was a decision that made it a tax-exempt is all. It did not declare it necessarily a religion. It made it tax-exempt. Jones and David Koresh was also tax-exempt. That doesn't mean that it's a religion, but I'm saying even if it is a religion, by our case law in Kentucky, we have dealt with religious issues in divorce cases, so that doesn't exclude it. And it's a very important issue in this case. And
I think that
the evaluation is to be independent, and the psychologist indeed gave an independent evaluation. Now it's not favorable to Mr. Padgett, and
we're not asking for another evaluation.
Let's try anything else.
We're not asking for an evaluation. We're only asked that she contacts someone more about Scientology, because I don't think she knows.
Well, then you're telling a psychologist how to perform her work.
I think first the court needs to make a decision about whether Scientology is relevant to this case. I'm going to allow you time to file your memorandum, and Ms. Halliburton, you will have time to respond to it. I think that will resolve the issue about whether or in the court's ruling on that, I think the court can resolve issues about whether the psychologist must consult these people.
Your Honor, go ahead.
Did she discuss the issue at all?
Yes, she did. And in the evaluation, she did discuss the issue. She discussed that the petitioner was involved in Scientology.
Okay.
She discussed
Well,
it
I
almost
will
on every
read,
page.
of course, I haven't seen her evaluation,
Right.
but
And I know
I
it's
believe it's placed in proper light. Indeed, Mr. Padgett kept saying that this is something, and then she, without so much as saying so, dismissed Mr. Padgett's statements for what they were worth.
Your Honor, I'm not saying I'm not an expert on Scientology. I have received a letter in the mail, which I have given to the Lexington Police Department, concerning Scientology. I admit, it bothers me. It bothers me to be in this case. I would like to file a memorandum. I'm not stalling for time, but But what I would like to ask, with the holidays,
consideration to it.
with the holidays, with Thanksgiving coming up, would it be inappropriate to ask till at least December 10th? Would that be inappropriate?
That's no problem.
Okay. Then I would submit mine by then.
Actually, in the mail, I get something every now and then, but I mean, I never signed up. Of course,
Right.
I get mail from the left to the right, so.
Well, I've read lots of things, but believe me, I'm a long way
But
from it.
I
I will
rarely
submit
ever
by
read it.
December
I mean,
10th, and then that way Mr. Halliburton will have time to respond on that issue, okay? So I guess that would reserve our rulings on the answers to the interrogatories and also the evaluation, okay? Okay, the only issues I have left, we've had, and I know we've been before you before on this, we have a major issue with the medical problems. We have contacted the providers. We have asked them for itemized statements, but what Mr. Padgett gets continuously is a bill that says $300, $400. There's nothing involved. All we're asking is some cooperation on the petitioner's part that after the fact, after the children have been provided with medical services, she don't have to call him. I'm not asking for verbal communication, but some way she let him know the children have been to the clinic or somewhere, because he has no idea
list of
what happened, what occurred, because he is consistently getting bills, and he doesn't know if insurance has been filed or hasn't been filed. We need some sort of communication.
Well, the communication is good, but indeed, the mother takes the children. The latest one is Mr. Padgett's refusal to deal with the orthodontist.
Do you have your bill?
The orthodontist has sent Mr. Padgett actually a planned treatment, and he writes back and says, well, about all this includes a harassing thing about the court and the collusion and everything else. Fortunately, I'm able to have the originals of all of his writings, because these doctors and everything will certainly refer, and they say, I don't want this. Here, get this thing out of here. And so I end up with it, just same as I ended up with this latest correspondence. But it's a simple matter. The only thing he has to do is correspond directly with the health care provider. The latest one, again, is Dr. Wells.
Yeah, we've dealt with the dental issue. The medical statements that we get are like this. We receive statements that say $395. We do not know when the children go. We have no way. All we ask for is some communication.
Okay. Well, I will require that whenever services are provided. Now that's a little separate from Wells, where he probably has given in advance what needs to be done.
And he's also made it clear that
I'm asking like
because of the way that
the clinic,
certain things have to be
the
prepaid,
clinic and so
that
on.
sort of thing,
Yeah,
because of Mr. Padgett's
that's
statements to him.
not an uncommon practice now anyway with
dentists. No.
Yeah. But so that's one matter, but with regard to all treatment, once it is performed, I'm going to require Mrs. Padgett or someone at her direction, be it at the clinic or wherever it would be, just file an itemized statement of what services were provided and what the charge was and whether insurance has been filed. The
insurance, again, we've covered it, that goes directly to Mr. Padgett's health care provider.
And I'm assuming that she's
or carrier.
That they're sending that on to the.
Yes.
Well,
usually the clinic, they're
great at that.
Well, usually they do, Your Honor, but we've ended up with a lot
Yeah,
of,
okay,
and
but-
he's
but-
asked for item, and so I
Yeah.
think that will clear it up, if that will
Okay.
help him. Because if he at least has some itemization of services and so on, then he knows when it was done, and he can follow up on that. Because now, the dental's a separate issue, but on most of this, his medical insurance is going to cover all of it. There's no need for either one of these parties to have to pay upfront medicals if it is filed with the insurance.
Well,
But he has to
again,
be
I would just refer you to what Mr. Padgett has done to himself, that he writes these ridiculous letters in conjunction with that, and the people just say, I don't want to deal with this man any more than possible, but if I have to deal with his children, it's going to be on a cash basis because he's saying he's not going to pay.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Well,
And I think that cooperation of itemization will take clear of some of that. I think that will. Now, Your Honor, my last issue, since Mr. Halliburton has filed a motion for a hearing, what I would like to do maybe is get a hold of Commissioner Hinton, since you haven't made any decision. Or do you want me to leave that until?
I think you probably need to leave that because
Okay,
we're gonna
I
have
would prefer to do that.
to resolve the
I would prefer to do
Scientology
that.
issue.
Okay, the last issue that I have is we are requesting Pacific Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays. Now, basically in their conversations, and I admit, we have two parties here who cannot communicate at all, unfortunately. We would request a certain Thanksgiving visitation and certain Christmas visitation. What we are requesting is for Thanksgiving, instead of him, she had the children's spring break, but instead of him taking the children entirely we would request from Wednesday evening to Friday evening.
Your Honor, I haven't had a chance to talk to Laura about this. I don't know what plans have been made. I read these motions for the first time this morning. They came in Friday afternoon. I was out of my office, and I read them 8 o'clock this morning or 7:45 for the first time. I have no idea what her plans, if any, have been made so
Well,
far. So I'm not in a position to respond. If they send me these motions on the spur of the moment, as they did, with the male holiday, which was Veterans Day, I don't have time to respond. So I'll have to contact my client regarding that.
And we're also...
He has indicated before that he didn't want them for Thanksgiving.
That's not true.
So you must have had some communication with your client then, because that issue
Not
has
over
come up.
this, I haven't. I know that he has indicated in writing
But
before.
let me interrupt, and I apologize for that, but I'm going to leave that for the two of you to work out. If that's not possible, let's get on a conference call. That would be better than having you come back down here.
And also Christmas, we've requested December 23rd through the 26th. And I think that would leave her then quite a bit of time with them. And what I will try to do is work with Mr. Halliburton before I leave town. I'll be here for a while.
Okay.
Maybe he can... I assume, though, you won't be able to get with your client.
Yeah, of course I can get with my client sometime.
Well, I mean, will you be able to reach her by telephone or whatever?
I don't know where she is at this moment.
I just meant maybe we could work this out before
Your
I
Honor.
left.
It would be best if you couldn't have,
Conclude.
Mrs. Benoit is here. You might be able to communicate with her and find out where Mrs.
Right, she has
Padgett
a
is.
job. She goes around.
Well, I understand, but
speaks.
it may you may be able to locate her.
That's all the
Okay,
that's all the motions that I have before the
okay.
court, Your Honor.
Now, I would like an order,
Oh,
although
the
I haven't filed a motion. That was left and it's being circulated here in Madisonville while Mr. Padgett is here. It's on various windshields of cars. If anything, I think this is the most damning thing for a father to do to his own children. This could literally result in a kidnapping of these two children. It certainly says, reward, help us. Somebody that doesn't read this in its entirety may very well think, missing child. Get these two children. I can imagine the emotional harm that this has done to both children. They now know about this. Before this weekend, they were not informed of this at my insistence because I didn't think it would do anything other than to hurt them. But Mr. Padgett has now come to Madisonville with these flyers and is distributing them, which literally brings shame upon his own children. It talks about the Hopkins Circuit Court as being, again, quote, the Hopkins Circuit Court in Madisonville is turning its head and ignoring it. You know, things like that. It's defamatory to you, as well as just a harm, an obvious harm, whether you're a psychologist or not, to the children. And Mr. Padgett should be ordered to stop circulating this or anything similar regarding these children.
And I want to ask your attorney
Yes.
a response.
Your Honor, I understand this is, you know, basically this shows it's a very dangerous cult. It's an extremely dangerous cult. I would like to read a quote from the U.S. Supreme Court. When a person is subjected to coercive persuasion, as in Scientology, he may develop serious and sometimes irreversible physical and psychiatric disorders, up into and including schizophrenia, self-mutilation, and suicide. Great Britain, Australia, there's case after case after case that has talked about Scientology. And I think what's happening here is basically there is a total tactic to make sure this doesn't come out. And I sincerely believe that. And these children, I do not think Mrs. Padgett will ever stay here after this divorce is final. Now that's my ultimate observation. I've talked with enough Scientologists. I've talked with enough former Scientologists. I think she will leave, and the children will go with her if she gets awarded custody. And I think it's a very serious harm and a very serious threat.
But how I don't care about what Mr. Padgett says about the court. I think that's protected by the First Amendment.
Sure.
But as to the effect on the children of putting these on windshields in the community,
Well, Your Honor, basically as far as this is concerned, these children have been going to Scientology meetings. They have been going to Nashville. They see nothing wrong with this because they don't know the dangers of Scientology. The mother's involved in it and so on. And I think what it is basically what he's trying to do. And I don't know if he put these on the windows or not. I mean, he said they showed up this weekend when he was here, so maybe he did. If he, yes.
Well,
Yes, I would like for him to speak.
I came down here Saturday for a scheduled visitation, and it was disrupted. I had to come down here, and I went to Laura's house. The children were in there. I made a phone call. I contacted the police department, met with Officer Benny Davis, and the children were in the house. No one would answer the front door and the back door. I left these under the windshield wipers of the cars in the driveway, which were my parents-in-law. These were not distributed anywhere else because these are being distributed by an organization that is watching this going on down here. This is my house in Michigan. There's graffiti on it. It says stop. The S and the P are underlined. That means suppressive person in the organization, which is anybody who's a critic or stands up against it. And I'm being prosecuted all over this country now. I'm being harassed. And I see what's happened to our family. I see what's happened to our children. And this is being distributed by a lot of people, not by me, as he claims. And those are the facts.
Well, let's refute them. Read his letter to the people in Lexington, the John Barnhart, and you will see that even though if he's not the one putting them under the windshields, he's the source of the distribution.
Do I live in Lexington?
Did you send this packet to John Barnhart? Did you make this
I said that
an enclosure to the Mr. Barnhart, and were these enclosed to Mr. Barnhart?
Yes, I've sent them to about 15 people
Yeah,
that I know. In doing so for my
let's do
children.
this again.
It's not even worth arguing with him. He's doing it. You know, he says, "Well, no, I'm not. You know, I don't live in
No, I am
Lexington."
doing it.
Well, finally he's
Other
admitted
people are
doing
doing
it
it
then.
too.
But literally, he's got to be stopped. I think the man's just mentally unstable. But my thoughts are on that would be equivalent to Miss
I
Lewis's
think this should be
thoughts
reserved until the memorandum comes in.
Yes. Well,
I wouldn't order stopping this.
about this particular issue as to the distribution of leaflets,
or other similar materials.
how would you couch an order that would be specifically narrow?
Tell them to stop it. It's just that simple. That the leaflets concerning his children and so forth, there's no reason to bring them into this. Only thing that does, if that makes it to the parents of their friends, I expect if I saw it, I would say, stay away from Julian Bowe. Is what I would tell my children. If I saw something like that, I would say stay away from those people. It's the potential for harm. If there was a kidnapping, you might be swept up into it. It's just literally the potential for harm is just, to me, just obvious.
Your Honor, I think one thing here is, yes, I think they will go. I think Mr. Halliburton will go to any effort, and I understand. Yes, these children are being harmed. I'm saying they are being harmed, physically and emotionally harmed, and they will be as long as they continue to reside with their mother.
Well,
that psychologist that we have had, the court-appointed psychologist, disagrees wholeheartedly with that, and she has said very emphatically that the scale tips toward my client as far as custody. There's a conclusion drawn.
She doesn't disagree. She's ignoring it.
Well,
She's afraid of it.
They talked. We wanted somebody to patrol just for convenience. They objected to that, and then they give list of people. They gave the list of the psychologist, and then Mr. Hinton appointed this psychologist to do an independent evaluation. Mr. Padgett has written to this person time and again, sent her suitcases full of information, as has his attorney.
How would you know?
And she
I disagree with that. I haven't sent her information.
Still formed her independent evaluation that absolutely refutes what they're saying.
How was he informed of this?
at this time, is there anything else?
There's one motion that I forgot, Your Honor, and I
Well,
apologize.
in
Let's
response
deal
to
with
this,
it.
okay,
No.
to the oral motion made by Mr. Halliburton, the court is ordering Mr. Padgett to cease and desist from the distribution of pamphlets which include information about the children. And the reason I'm doing that, I hate to order anyone to desist from printing anything. If you wish to send letters all over the United States critical of the Hopkins Circuit Court, that's fine. I think you're protected in doing that. But I don't think you're protected in disseminating information which may be harmful to your children. The court will carefully consider whether the Scientology issue and determine whether it's a part of this case, and even if it is, whether that is decisive of who has custody. The court will give full consideration to that issue. But when you start putting information like this out all over the place, and especially in this area,
These are being put up by friends, too.
well, you're being ordered to cause them to stop doing that, because I may not have any control over them. I may or may not, but I do have control over you. You're before the court.
May I ask the court one question? May I have the same order for Laura to contact the Church of Scientology and stop the harassment on me?
You know, that could have been any. I expect.
If you give me any information,
connecting it to Laura Padgett.
connecting, if you can do that, then I'll give you the same order. I'll give you the same order. We'll put that in a. Do you have? You'd rather put it in a.
Basically,
affidavit?
Your Honor, it came from, there was a, you have the police report?
Mm-hmm.
You'd rather I put it in an affidavit and bring it?
It might be best,
Okay.
but
I'll submit it to the court. We'll
Okay.
submit it to the court.
There's no way they'll ever connect it to Laura because she doesn't know about it. I expect that
She has
Mr.
talked to the
Padgett with a
center.
spray paint can.
I guess I
does
wrote
that
the own letter to my
and
office,
comes
too.
on. I don't doubt that Mr. Padgett
Okay,
would
well,
have someone
let's move
later.
on.
We only
Because,
have
I
one
mean,
motion left, Your Honor.
That's detestable, too. I agree with you if somebody's
Yes,
painting that on your house.
right. Your Honor, the one thing I also had requested, tape specifically from Commissioner Hinton, and I would assume that I will need to contact him there for the pendant light hearing. They're specifically on the issue that we have decided not to bring up again until the final hearing. But it's to my knowledge there's some information on tapes. Both he and Mr. Halliburton have alluded to those tapes, that there is some information on the tape about the money that is in escrow. I have had that transcribed. There is nothing in that tape that I know of, but they both say there is a tape, and I need that tape.
I don't
before
have
the
any
hearing.
control over it.
Is
Ask
it
through
a
the clerk.
videotape or an
It
audio?
was an audio tape, and I had it fully transcribed by a court reporter, and there is absolutely nothing on there. What I'm saying, they have both in a previous hearing talked about there's information on the tape that it's to be brought to Madisonville.
We have talked at previous hearings that indeed these matters were discussed and a ruling came from them. I don't know if they're on the tapes. I've never heard the tapes. I've never seen the tapes.
But statements were made, they were on the tape, so I'm trying to find
Or
that.
they have not been made by me. They have not been made by Mr. Hinton, those statements. Whether they're on the tape, I don't know.
Okay.
I know that every order that every
Well, I
ruling
mean, you're
that Mr.
entitled
Hinton-
to listen to all the tapes
Sure.
that exist.
And also want the tape for February 15th, so those two tapes is all I need.
Order.
Okay,
And you can draft the ordinance with us.
okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
And circulate to Mr. Halliburton.
I
if
will,
there's any-
before I submit it to you. I will. And thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.